So this one's interesting for many, many reasons, okay? So oftentimes with scientific notation, if you can recognize a number as another number, or recognize a mathematical operation, you could make it simple, okay? Not everybody can do 4.5 divided by 9, but most people can recognize this as a hidden 45 divided by 9, and we know that 9 times 5 is 45, so we know that that is 5. All right? So what I could do, one way that I could do this, is I could say, well, why don't I make this number 45? Okay? So I'd have to make this number bigger, which means I'd have to make that number smaller. So that's 45 times 10 to the third over 9 times 10 to the sixth. Okay? Now this really becomes 45 over 9 times 10 to the 3 minus 6. Okay? And 45 divided by 9 is 5 times 10 to the minus 3. All right, so that's one way to do it. Another way that I can do it is I can just know math. All right? So instead, I'll just set this up as 4.5 over 9 times 10 to the 4 minus 6. And this is 0.5 instead of 5 times 10 to the minus 2. Okay, but this is incorrect scientific notation. So this number has to get larger, which means this number has to get smaller. So this becomes 5 times 10 to the minus 3. Okay, so that's one reason that this is interesting, because it's kind of a different way of looking at these numbers. Another thing that's interesting here is the way your calculator does this. All right, so if I bring in my calculator, so a lot of people, when they try to do a problem like this, what they'll do is they'll do 4.5 times 10, and then they'll use the little caret here, 10 to the fourth, and we got to get out of that, divided by 9.0 times 10, and then another little caret. Wait, go back. I need a 0 times 10 to the sixth. All right. Now when I do this, I get 5e9. Now what we got when we did our math was 5 times 10 to the minus 3. But when I plugged this into my calculator, I did 5 times 10 to the ninth. Okay? Now that's because your calculator doesn't recognize this setup as scientific notation. Okay? It doesn't recognize it as a single number. It recognizes it as a multiplication problem, in which case you would then have to go to orders of operations, right? Which would be PEMDAS, so powers, or parentheses, then exponents. So the exponents would be multiplied out first, and then you'd go through math left to right. So you take 4.5 times 10,000 divided by 9.0, and then that answer times a million. And that would give you basically 5 billion, all right? So that's wrong. That's not what we wanted it to do. You could fix this by putting in parentheses, but if I just use scientific notation like I showed you earlier, so I can E6, okay, now when I do this, I get the correct answer, all right? Your calculator recognizes these numbers as single numbers, okay, rather than the mess that this is. This is another reason that I highly recommend this, all right? I have people later in the year when the math problems are getting long and complex who are never getting anything right because they never learned how to do this, and they refuse to learn how to do this, and it just totally messes up their life, all right? You need to be able to do the exponential notation on your calculator. It's just much better and cleaner that way.